Book 3, Canto 6, The Legend of Britomartis. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Alan Brown. The Faerie Queene by Edmund Spenser. Book 3, The Legend of Britomartis. Canto 6. The birth of fair Belphoebe and of Amoret is told, the gardens of Adonis fraught with pleasures manifold. Well may I weene, fair ladies, all this while ye wonder, how this noble damosel so great perfections did in her compile, sith that in salvage forests she did dwell, so far from court and royal citadel. The great school mistress of all courtesy, seemeth that such wild woods should far expel all civil usage and gentility, and gentle sprite deform with rude rusticity. But to this fair Belphoebe in her birth, the heavens so favourable were and free, looking with mild aspect upon the earth, in th' horoscope of her nativity, that all the gifts of grace and chastity on her they pour'd forth of plenteous horn. Jove laugh'd on Venus from his sov'reign sea, and Phoebus with fair beams did her adorn, and all the Graces rock'd her cradle being born. Her birth was of the womb of morning dew, and her conception of the joyous prime, and all her whole creation did her shew pure and unspotted from all loathly crime, that is ingenerate in fleshly slime. So was this virgin born, so was she bred, so was she train'd up from time to time in all chaste virtue and true bounty had, till to her due perfection she was ripen'd. Her mother was the fair Chrysogone, the daughter of Amphiissa, who by race a fairy was, y-born of high degree. She bore Belphoebe; she bore in like case fair Amoretta in the second place. These two were twinnes, and 'twixt them two did share the heritage of all celestial grace, that all the rest it seem'd they robb'd bare of bounty and of beauty and all virtues rare. It were a goodly story to declare, by what strange accident fair Chrysogone conceiv'd these infants, and how them she bare. In this wild forest wand'ring all alone, after she had 9 months fulfill'd and gone, for not as other women's commune brood, they were enwomb'd in the sacred throne of her chaste body, nor with commune food, as other women's babes, they suck'd vital blood. But wondrously they were begot and bred, through influence of the heavens' fruitful ray. As it in antique books is mention'd, it was upon a summer's shiny day, when Titan fair his beams did display, in a fresh fontaine, far from all men's view, she bathed her breast, the boiling heat to lay. She bathed with roses red and violets blue, and all the sweetest flowers that in the forest grew. Till faint, through irksome weariness, adown upon the grassy ground herself she laid to sleep, the whiles a gentle slumbering swoon upon her fell all naked bare display'd. The sunnebeams bright upon her body play'd, being through former bathing mollified, and pierc'd into her womb, where they embayed with so sweet sense and secret pow'r unspied, that in her pregnant flesh they shortly fructified. Miraculous may seem to him that readeth so strange ensample of conception, but reason teacheth that the fruitful seeds of all things living, through impression of the sunbeams in moist complexion, do life conceive and quicken'd are by kind. So after Nilus' inundation, Infinite shapes of creatures men do find, Inform'd in the mud on which the sun hath shin'd. Great Father he of generation is rightly call'd, The author of life and light, and his fair sister for creation Ministreth matter fit, which temper'd right With heat and humour breedes the living wight. So sprung these twins in womb of Chrysogone, Yet wist she naught thereof, but sore affright, Wondred to see her belly so upblown, Which still increas'd till she her term had full outgone. Whereof conceiving shame and full disgrace, Albe her guiltless conscience her clear'd, She fled into the wilderness of space, Till that unwieldy burden she had rear'd, And shunn'd dishonour, which as death she fear'd, Where, weary of long travel, down to rest Herself she sat, uncomfortably cheer'd, There a sad cloud of sleep her o'ercast, And seiz'd ev'ry sense with sorrow sore oppress'd. It fortun'd, fair Venus having lost Her little son, the winged god of love, Who for some light displeasure, which him cross'd, Was from her fled, as flit is airy dove, And left her blissful bow'r of joy above. So from her often he had fled away, When she for aught him sharply did reprove, And wandred in the world in strange array, Disguis'd in thousand shapes, that none might him bewray. Him for to seek, she left her heav'nly house, The house of goodly forms and fair aspects, Whence all the world derives the glorious features of beauty, And all shapes select, with which high God his workmanship hath deck'd, And searched every way, through which his wings had borne him, or his tract she mote detect. She promis'd kisses sweet, and sweeter things Unto the man that of him tidings to her brings. First she him sought in court, where most he us'd whilom to haunt, But there she found him not. But many there she found which sore accus'd His falsehood, and with foul infamous blot His cruel deeds and wicked wiles did spot. Ladies and lords she everywhere mote hear Complaining, how with his empoison'd shot Their woful hearts he wounded had whileer, And so had left them languishing 'twixt hope and fear. She then the cities sought from gate to gate, And every one did ask, did he him see? And every one her answer'd, that too late He had him seen, and felt the cruelty Of his sharp darts, and what artillery; And every one threw forth reproaches rife Of his mischievous deeds, and said that he Was the disturber of all civil life, The enemy of peace, and the author of all strife. Then in the country she abroad him sought, And in the rural cottages enquir'd, Where also many plaints to her were brought, How he their heedless hearts with love had fir'd, And his false venom through their veins inspir'd. And eke the gentle shepherd swains, which sat Keeping their fleecy flocks as they were hir'd, She sweetly heard complain, both how and what Her son had to them done, yet she did smile thereat. But when in none of all these she him got, She 'gan avise where else he mote him hide. At last she here bethought, that she had not Yet sought the salvage woods and forests wide, In which full many lovely nymphs abide, 'Mongst whom might be that he did closely lie, Or that the love of some of them him tied. For thy she thither cast her course t'apply, To search the secret haunts of Dian's company. Shortly unto the wasteful woods she came, Whereas she found the goddess with her crew, After late chase of their embrewed game, Sitting beside a fountain in a rue, Some of them washing with the liquid dew From off their dainty limbs the dusty sweat, And soil which did deform their lively hue. Others lay shaded from the scorching heat, The rest upon her person gave attendance great. She having hung upon a bough on high her bow and painted quiver, had unlaced her silver buskins from her nimble thigh, and her lank loins ungirt, and breasts unbraced, after her heat the breathing cold to taste. Her golden locks, that late in tresses bright embreaded were for hind'ring of her haste, now loose upon her shoulders hung undight, and were with sweet ambrosia all besprinkled light. Soon as she Venus saw behind her back, she was asham'd to be so loose surpris'd, and walks half wroth against her damsels slack, that had not her thereof before avis'd, but suffer'd her so carelessly disguis'd be overtaken. Soon her garments loose upgath'ring in her bosom she compris'd, well as she might, unto the goddess rose, whiles all her nymphs did like a guirland her enclose. Goodly she gan fair Cytherea greet, and shortly ask'd her what cause her brought into that wilderness for her unmeet, from her sweet bow'rs and beds with pleasures fraught. That sudden change she strange adventure thought, to whom, half weeping, she thus answer'd, that she her dearest son Cupido sought, who with his frowardness from her was fled, that she repented sore to have him anger'd. Thereat Diana 'gan to smile, in scorn of her vain plaint, and to her scoffing said: "Great pity sure, that ye be so forlorn of your gay son, that gives ye so good aid to your disports. Ill mote ye bene paid." But she was more engriev'd, and replied: "Fair sister, ill beseems it to upbraid a doleful heart with so disdainful pride, the like that mine may be your pain another tide. As you in woods and wanton wilderness your glory set, to chase the salvage beasts, so my delight is all in joyfulness, in beds, in bow'rs, in banquets, and in feasts. And ill becomes you with your lofty crests to scorn the joy that Jove is glad to seek. We both are bound to follow heav'n's behests, and tend our charges with obeisance meek. Spare, gentle sister, with reproach my pain to eke, and tell me, if that ye my son have heard to lurk amongst your nymphs in secret wise, or keep their cabins: much I am afeard lest he like one of them himself disguise, and turn his arrows to their exercise. So may he long himself full easy hide, for he is fair and fresh in face and guise, as any nymph, let not it be ennoy'd." So saying, every nymph full narrowly she eyed. But Phoebe therewith sore was anger'd, and sharply said: "Go, dame, go seek your boy where you him lately left, in Mars his bed. He comes not here; we scorn his foolish joy, ne lend we leisure to his idle toy. But if I catch him in this company, by Stygian lake I vow, whose sad annoy the gods do dread, he dearly shall abye. I'll clip his wanton wings, that he no more shall fly." Whom when as Venus saw so sore displeas'd, she inly sorry was, and 'gan relent what she had said. So her she soon appeas'd, with sugar'd words and gentle blandishment, which as a fountain from her sweet lips went, and well'd goodly forth, that in short space she was well pleas'd, and forth her damsels sent, through all the woods, to search from place to place, if any tract of him or tidings they mote trace. To search the god of love her nymphs she sent, throughout the wand'ring forest everywhere, and after them herself eke with her went, to seek the fugitive both far and near. So long they sought, till they arrived were in that same shady covert, whereas lay fair Chrysogene in slumbry trance whilere, who in her sleep, a wondrous thing to say, unwares had born two babes, as fair as springing day. Unwares she them conceiv'd, unwares she bore. She bore withouten pain, that she conceiv'd withouten pleasure. ne her need implore Lucine's aid; which when they both perceiv'd, they were through wonder nigh of sense bereav'd, and gazing each on other, naught bespake, at last they both agreed, her seeming griev'd, out of her heavy swoon not to awake, but from her loving side the tender babes to take. Up they them tooke, each one a babe uptooke, and with them carried to be foster'd. Dame Phoebe to a nymph her babe betooke, to be upbrought in perfect maidenhead, and of herself her name belle Phoebe read. But Venus hers thence far away convey'd, to be upbrought in goodly womanhead, and in her little love's stead, which was stray'd, her Amaretta call'd, to comfort her dismay'd. She brought her to her joyous paradise, where most she wonnes, when she on earth does dwell, so fair a place as nature can devise, whether in Paphos or Cithaeron hill, or it in Cnidus be, I wot not well, but well I wot by trial, that this same all other pleasant places doth excell, and call it by her lost lover's name, the Garden of Adonis, far renown'd by fame. In that same garden all the goodly flowers, wherewith Dame Nature doth her beautify, and decks the girlands of her paramours, are fetch'd. There is the first seminary of all things that are born to live and die, according to their kinds. Long work it were here to account the endless progeny of all the weedes that bud and blossom there, but so much as doth need must needs be counted here. It sited was in fruitful soil of old, and girt in with two walls on either side, the one of iron, the other of bright gold, that none might thorough break, nor overstride. And double gates it had, which open'd wide, by which both in and out men moten pass, the one fair and fresh, the other old and dried. Old Genius the porter of them was, old Genius, the which a double nature has. He letteth in, he letteth out to wend all that to come into the world desire. 1,000,000 naked babes attend about him day and night, which do require that he with fleshly weedes would them attire. Such as him list, such as eternal fate ordained hath, he clothes with sinful mire, and sendeth forth to live in mortal state, till they again return back by the hinder gate. After that they again returned been, they in that garden planted be again, and grow afresh, as they had never seen fleshly corruption, nor mortal pain. Some 1,000 years so do'n they there remain, and then of him are clad with other hue, or sent into the changeful world again, till thither they return where first they grew. So like a wheel around they run from old to new. Ne needs their gardener to set or sow, to plant or prune, for of their own accord all things, as they created were, do grow. And yet remember well the mighty word, which first was spoken by th' Almighty Lord, that bade them to increase and multiply. Ne do they need with water of the ford, or of the clouds to moisten their roots dry, for in themselves eternal moisture they imply. Infinite shapes of creatures there are bred, and uncouth forms, which none yet ever knew, and every sort is in a sundry bed, set by itself, and ranked in comely rue. Some fit for reasonable souls tendue, some made for beasts, some made for birds to wear, and all the fruitful spawn of fishes hue, in endless ranks along enrounged were, that seem'd the ocean could not contain them there. Daily they grow, and daily forth are sent into the world, it to replenish more. Yet is the stock not lessen'd, nor spent, but still remaineth in everlasting store. as it at first created was of yore. For in the wide womb of the world there lies, in hateful darkness and in deep horror, an huge eternal chaos, which supplies the substances of nature's fruitful progenies. All things from thence do their first being fetch, and borrow matter, whereof they are made; which, when as form and feature it does catch, becomes a body, and doth then invade the state of life out of the griesly shade. That substance is eterne, and bideth so; ne when the life decayes, and form does fade, doth it consume, and into nothing go, but changed is, and often altered to and fro. The substance is not changed nor altered, but only form and outward fashion; for every substance is conditioned to change her hue, and sundry forms to don, meet for her temper and complexion. For forms are variable, and decay by course of kind and by occasion; and that fair flower of beauty fades away, as doth the lily fresh before the sunny ray. Great enemy to it, and to all the rest, that in the garden of Adonis springs, is wicked Time, who with his scythe address'd does mow the flow'ring herbs and goodly things, and all their glory to the ground down flings. Where they do wither, and are foully marr'd, he flies about, and with his flaggy wings beats down both leaves and buds without regard. Ne ever pity may relent his malice hard. Yet pity often did the gods relent, to see so fair things marr'd, and spoil'd quite; and their great mother Venus did lament the loss of her dear brood, her dear delight. Her heart was pierc'd with pity at the sight, when, walking through the garden, them she spied; yet note she find redress for such despite, for all that lives is subject to that law. All things decay in time, and to their end do draw. But were it not that time their troubler is, all that in this delightful garden grows should happy be, and have immortal bliss. For here all plenty and all pleasure flows, and sweet love gentle fits amongst them throws, without fell rancour, or fond jealousy. Frankly each paramour his leman knows, each bird his mate; ne'any does envy their goodly merriment and gay felicity. There is continual spring, and harvest there continual, both meeting at one time; for both the boughs do laughing blossoms bear, and with fresh colours deck the wanton prime. And eke attonce the heavy trees they climb, which seem to labour under their fruit's load, the whiles the joyous birds make their pastime. Amongst the shady leaves their sweet abode, and their true loves without suspicion tell abroad. Right in the middest of that paradise there stood a stately mount, on whose round top a gloomy grove of myrtle trees did rise, whose shady boughs sharp steel did never lop, nor wicked beasts their tender buds did crop, but like a guirland compass'd the height, and from their fruitful sides sweet gum did drop, that all the ground with precious dew bedight, threw forth most dainty odours, and most sweet delight. And in the thickest covert of that shade there was a pleasant arbour, not by art, but of the tree's own inclination made, which knitting their rank branches part to part, with wanton yewy twine entrail'd athwart, and eglantine and caprifol among, fashion'd above with their inmost part, that nether Phoebus' beams could through them throng, nor Aeolus' sharp blast could work them any wrong. And all about grew every sort of flow'r, to which sad lovers were transform'd of yore: fresh hyacinthus, Phoebus' paramour, and dearest love, foolish Narcissa, that likes the wat'ry shore, sad Amaranthus, made a flow'r but late, sad Amaranthus, in whose purple gore meseems I see Amyntas' wretched fate, to whom sweet poet's verse hath given endless date. There wont fair Venus often to enjoy her dear Adonis' joyous company, and reap a sweet pleasure of the wanton boy. There yet some say in secret he does lie, lapp'd in flow'rs and precious spicery, by her hid from the world, and from the skill of Stygian gods, which do her love envy. But she herself, whenever that she will, possesseth him, and of his sweetness takes her fill. And sooth it seems, they say, for he may not for ever die, and ever buried be in baleful night, where all things are forgot. All be he subject to mortality, yet is eterne in mutability, and by succession made perpetual, transformed oft and changed diversely. For him the father of all forms they call, therefore needs mote he live, that living gives to all. There now he liveth in eternal bliss, joying his goddess, and of her enjoy'd. Ne feareth he henceforth that foe of his, which with his cruel tusk him deadly cloy'd. For that wild boar, the which him once annoy'd, she firmly hath imprison'd for aye, that her sweet love his malice mote avoid, in a strong rocky cave, which is, they say, hewn underneath that mount, that none him losen may. There now he lives in everlasting joy, with many of the gods in company, which thither haunt, and with the winged boy sporting himself in safe felicity, who, when he hath with spoils and cruelty ransack'd the world, and in the woful hearts of many wretches set his triumphs high, thither resorts, and laying his sad darts aside, with fair Adonis plays his wanton parts. And his true love fair Psyche with him plays, fair Psyche, to him lately reconcil'd, after long troubles and unmeet upbraise, with which his mother Venus her revil'd, and eke himself her cruelly exil'd. But now in steadfast love and happy state, she with him lives, and hath him born a child, Pleasure, that doth both gods and men agrate, Pleasure, the daughter of Cupid, and Psyche late. Hither great Venus brought this infant fair, the younger daughter of Chrysogone, and unto Psyche with great trust and care committed her, yfoster'd to be and train'd up in true femininity, who no less carefully her tender'd than her own daughter, Pleasure, to whom she made her companion, and her lesson'd in all the lore of love and goodly womanhead. In which when she to perfect ripeness grew, of grace and beauty noble paragon, she brought her forth into the world's view, to be th' ensample of true love alone, and lodestar of all chaste affection to all fair ladies that do live on ground. To Faerie court she came, where many one admir'd her goodly haviour, and found his feeble heart wide launch'd with love's cruel wound. But she to none of them her love did cast, save to the noble knight Sir Scudamore, to whom her loving heart she link'd fast in faithful love, to bide for evermore, and for his dearest sake endured sore trouble of an heinous enemy, who her would forced have to have for lore her former love, and steadfast loyalty, as ye may elsewhere read that rueful history. But well I ween ye first desire to learn, what end unto that fairful damosel, which fled so fast from that same foster stern, whom with his brethren Timaeus slew befell, that was so weet the goodly Florimel, who wandring for to seek her lover dear, her dearest Marinell, Into misfortune fell, as ye did hear, And from Prince Arthur fled with wings of idle fear. Canto VI. Book 3. The Legend of Britomartis.